Okay, so this video will act as a pilot to a series of videos in which I am going to talk about games that are based on movies that were actually good. So I'm going to look back on a few games that were released over the last few years, even more recent games that are actually based on movies. And I'm not talking about cheap knockoffs or cheap clones of other games. I'm talking about games that are based on movies that really capture the essence of the movie, that capture the essence of the character. So in this video I do want to talk about From Russia With Love, which was released in 2005 and was created by EA. And of course this game was based off From Russia With Love, which was released in 1963, Sean Connery's second entry as the iconic character, James Bond. And for me, Sean Connery is the penultimate James Bond. He's the ultimate James Bond, and the idea of playing as him was a dream come true. If you look up Manly in a dictionary, you're probably just going to see a picture of Sean Connery. He's one of the most charismatic actors in all of Hollywood, so the idea of playing as this legend really added to experience, and the idea of him actually coming back to actually return to the role adds to the experience as well. So this game was a follow-up to Everything or Nothing, which was released a year before that, and it was also a third-person shooter, and it's pretty much a predecessor to From Russia With Love, as in a lot of gameplay mechanics were used once again From Russia With Love. And a third-person shooter, Bond, wasn't released for years because the last one was Tomorrow Never Dies, and because of Free Radical made a first-person shooter in the form of GoldenEye, they decided to go down that route. So that was followed by Agent Under Fire, then there was Nightfire, and then of course there was the horrible, don't go there ever, GoldenEye Rogue Agent, which will probably delete every fantastic memory that you had of the once great GoldenEye game. Okay, so I'm going to talk about why I liked From Russia With Love and why I think it was such a great game. Okay, so the gameplay itself is very simple. It's very simple, a simple third-person shooter type feature. There is an auto-aiming feature, and there's a fantastic targeting system as well, which you can use, in which you can target individual points in their body. So you can shoot a person in the knee, the hand. Once you do that, you can disarm an enemy. It's a very interesting feature. You can also use this on objects as well, and that acts as a bond move. So a very simple combat mechanic in which you approach an enemy, and once you're close enough to him, a quick time button will feature, and you press that button and you get this very satisfying little judo flip or something like that. Very Sean Connery type era combat. It's very cool once you see it in action. There's also a wide variety of gadgets, which was all inspired by the James Bond era of that time, very 1960s. So, and it does feature a lot of gadgets that are featured in the later Sean Connery movies. So you do get the jetpack, which was in Thunderball, and the jetpack actually is pretty smooth to actually use. It doesn't feel sluggish or slow. You get to fire machine guns and rockets off it. It's very fun actually to use. You also get the Aston Martin, which was featured in Goldfinger, and that plays off pretty well. Of course, you get to use all the gadgets from the car seen in Goldfinger. So you get the oil slick, you get the machine guns, you get the rockets. The car movements is a little sluggish, but it's still fun. Also inspired from Goldfinger, you do get to wear the white tuxedo, which is also pretty cool. There is also a kind of an RPG element in which you can level up your Connery. So you can level up his life, his body armor. You can change his ammo type. It's a really interesting feature. You can also dress your Connery, so you can dress him with his iconic black suit or his white suit, or you can have him with a spy suit. It doesn't really change the actual character much, but you can dress your Connery the way you would like to dress your Connery. There is a few new characters introduced because they want to expand on the storyline. So just a few little side plots were introduced, a few subplots were introduced because they were trying to add to the running time so that people will get their money's worth. And they're fun little features that don't actually affect the story too much or take away from the story. They actually really fit in well with the overall arc of the story. There is some moments that there's some on-rail shooting in it as well, and that actually plays off really well. It's also fun. The overall presentation is also fantastic, and the overall level level designs and the costumes designs and the character designs are all perfect for that. They really nailed the 1960s era to it, and I gotta say, it almost feels like a part of Sean Connery's DNA was almost thrown into the mix when they made this game, as it really does feel like it's taken from the 60s. While it is a great game, it's also not a perfect game. There is a few things I didn't quite like. There's an iconic moment in the movie in which Sean Connery and Ray Grant fight on a train, and it's one of the most iconic close quarter fights you'll ever see in a movie, and it's one of even the best in James Bond history. Sadly, that was replaced with kind of a generic shooting section, which was a real shame. There's a few little changes that they had to do for the plot because they couldn't use the name of Spectre. It's a minor thing, but it's a little disappointing that that Ray Grant wasn't actually Spectre. I love the idea of Sean Connery coming back to the idea of playing James Bond. It's a little off-putting because he was 74 when he played James Bond in this game, and of course this is a much younger version of himself. This was his James Bond when he was in his 30s, so it's a little off-putting playing this younger version of James Bond and having this older voice acting, but it's fantastic having Sean Connery coming back. A lot of people say the gameplay is a little too simple, and maybe the difficulty is a little too easy as well, but still a great game if you're a fan of James Bond, if you're a fan of the movie, or if you're a fan of Sean Connery and if you wanted to be Sean Connery, then definitely play this game. You will not be disappointed by any of those features. So this, as I said, this is the first in the series I'm planning to do. And if you have any suggestions, put in the comments section. If you like this video, like it, share it. I'd greatly appreciate that as well. And I suppose I'll thank you guys for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you like what you see.